When driving during the day, the only issue you might run into is if the sun is hitting your eyes. But nowadays, drivers have to deal with a bigger issue when driving at night that just can't seem to be solved. And that problem is new LED or automatic headlights or high beams on cars. As cars have become more advanced in technology, headlights have evolved as well. It sounds like a subtle change, but warm and not as invasive light was ultimately switched by a blinding bright white light. Susan and Larry Wilder detailed the impact these bright lights have on their driving.
Many of us are beginning cataracts, and so they say the bright light is even more of an issue if you have any sort of cataract on your eye. But there's supposed to be a wider brightness so that you can see better on both sides of the road. But the brightness is startling when you're driving.
I think that the evolution that we've seen in the lights, and you can see it now in the older cars, if you're driving at night, you'll see the older cars, the lights are kind of a yellow, white, and then you'll see bright, and then you see this like super bright, almost like a blue tint, and it's very noticeable. Very difficult if you're driving on a two-lane road and you're trying to follow the line in the middle of the road. It does tend to obscure your visibility for sure. Well, as somebody that is facing them, I can see it being a negative because, particularly again, if you're trying to stay within a lane, the interesting thing is that the other side of the coin is if I'm driving the car, I have not driven a car with LED lights, but I really do like the increased brightness. A lot of times I'll put the high beams on if I don't have oncoming traffic so I can see. So if I had those LED lights, I probably would feel more secure driving, particularly as a senior. But the interesting thing with the LED lights is that if the car is behind you and you're sitting at a stoplight or they're coming up, even though there's a dimmer on the rear view mirror, that extra lighting can be very intense, and that also is a distraction. So you get a combination of, if you're facing the headlights, you have trouble seeing the lines in the road, and if they're behind you, the brightness shines in off your mirror, and that also can be a big distraction.
These dangerous lights have many thinking, whose bright idea was this? Sergeant Christopher Fiore details the negative impact of these lights and what we can do to be more aware of this overlooked issue.
Some aftermarket lights are designed for off-road use only. When using high beams have to be dimmed back to low beams within 500 feet of oncoming traffic. And when you approach traffic from behind, they have to be dimmed within 300 feet of traffic in front of you. Failure to dim high beams is an infraction. It's against the law. It's a mail-in infraction, fine. So you can be pulled over for not dimming your high beams, either to oncoming traffic or behind traffic.
The National Institute of Health reports that, quote, half of the fatal accidents on U.S. roads occur at night, and the number of traffic accidents caused by glare from the high beam headlights of oncoming traffic at night accounts for 12 to 15% of all traffic accidents, unquote. There is no doubt that these lights are becoming an increasingly dangerous piece of technology to have on the roads. Many individuals are heavily affected by these dangerous lights.
I dislike bright headlights. It's just so distracting.
We wanted to test how bad these headlights are.
So, it's getting a little darker out. It's a little harder to see the roads, where in the middle of the day, we'll say, like, when you're passing a car, their headlights might not be on, so you're not dealing with that eye strain. I definitely do see a safety concern, just like me as a young adult, but also I see in my parents. My dad is in his 50s. I know when he drives at night, it's super hard for him with the new LED lights, and since more and more cars are switching over to the LED lights and not the old duller yellower lights, for him it's super hard. Like, he kind of has to focus on other things on the road, or not, honestly, like, he doesn't drive as much. Like, I kind of dread when I have to drive on a busy road at night because I know there's other cars passing me. Rather, if I know I'm going to be on a darker road, I can see better. Like, after I drive and finish, like, I feel better because I don't have a headache or a migraine.
While driving, make sure you are aware of your surroundings and your car as well. Turn off your high beams when passing another car, don't make direct contact with the light, and adjust your mirrors accordingly. Stay safe, Eastern. For ETV News, this has been Kaylee Roberts with Emily Madden behind the camera, sending it back to the studio.